Hi, everyone. Let me take a deep breath, first of all. Every SRE knows this story. Have you ever woken up 3 a.m. to a pager duty alert and you are asked to resolve an incident? How many of us, with a show of hands? It was easier. It's easier because when you break it, you fix it. But now, it's different. Imagine if an agent attends to the pager. Who owns the outcome? My name is Cynthia Akiotu, a cybersecurity architect. My work focuses on identity, access, and data security. And today I'm taking you on this journey. Who owns your SRE stack? The rise of AI agents. As SREs, we see ourselves as guardians of reliability. But now, we've automated our toy, reduced MTTR, and even managed incidents. It's now faster. This makes us lose visibility of our systems. As an SRE, you lose visibility of your system. It becomes opaque. So this is what we are going to discuss. We are the guardians of reliability. But what happens when system becomes too reliable to understand? It was easier, even with Copilot, we had Copilot. With your prompts, you give Copilot guidance, and it gives you results. Copilot assists. But now, agents are taking over. They are acting, checking incidents, resolving it, remediating it, even sometimes without human intervention. This is no more like a story or something. We have Azure SRE agent in preview currently. It is used to manage your cloud environment. You can monitor, conduct diagnosis, identify incidents, and it also remediates it and fix it for you. I want to ask a funny question. How many of us will sleep very well if we give AI agents to take over our systems, to take over managing incidents as SREs? Will you sleep well at night? Okay, so this is the journey I'm going to take you through. So Copilot assists, but now we have agents acting. We have Azure SRE agent is one of the most popular one now, managing your cloud environment with its integration with other resources like your PagerDuty. We also have startups like Fuzzy Labs. Also, they've piloted their own SRE agents as well. So the thing is, when ownership blurs, reliability dissolves. But I'm not going to say SRE agents are very good. I'm going to first talk about the promise of SRE agents. Imagine at 3 a.m., again, waking up to a Redis latency alert of low priority. As an SRE, you might just snooze it and sleep off because it's low priority. But the agents do not sleep, they are active. The agents will check the memory issues, session errors, and even downstreams to check if there's any cascading failure that can affect your system generally. It's doing it, it doesn't complain, it's not feeling sleepy, it's active 24 hours. And then it resolves that issue. You wake up and there's no more issue in your system. So you can see the importance of SRE agents. It's proactive. You no longer have to rely with a particular SRE who knows everything. The SRE agent captures every process it does. It learns from those processes and has its own knowledge base and knowledge capture. For example, for Azure SRE, it captures every process in your GitHub. So now, can we see the relevance of SRE agents? Are you going to leave your work to SRE agents at night? No. I don't know if I've convinced you yet or you'll see otherwise. Now, with this promise comes a shadow of loopholes, cracks in our systems. So the cracks that we already have in our systems can also be exposed by these SRE agents. And as SRE agents, or as SRE, will you be comfortable giving agents root admin access? Opaque actions. I said earlier on that we are SREs. I'm going to assume I'm an SRE, but I'm a cybersecurity architect. So when I keep saying we, please take me as an SRE now. We are guardians of reliabilities as SRE. We are supposed to be. But now that we've automated everything, we don't even understand our system or the processes anymore. It becomes so opaque. You're operating with a black box. So how do you know what is happening? Who did what? How do you have that observability in your system? Approval is not accountability. An SRE agent approves a process. Does it make it accountable? Who is accountable? Pipelines. For example, you push a code in Jenkins. DevOps assumes is the responsibility of the operations. Operations assumes is the responsibility of the security professional. So who owns the outcome? Now, I want to talk about the risk that this opens up, the loopholes, how this will affect our systems, particularly identity risk. Imagine I ask the question, who will sleep comfortably when you give permission, root admin permission, access to your agents? Will you sleep well at night as an SRE agent? And everybody said, most people said no. Maybe someone will sleep well, I don't know. But that is identity risk. How do you manage the identity lifecycle of these SRE agents? Who is it tied to? Is it tied to as a machine identity? Who is accountable for it? In terms of compliance or auditability, regulations don't want to hear AI acted on it. They need to know what happened, what process, what was the issue, how was it escalated. You are not going to respond and say AI acted on it or an agent acted on it. No. With access and permission comes great responsibilities. And these agents gain access to our data, our APIs. So how do we mitigate, gain visibility of the SRE agents? I know we want to sleep well at night. Of course, it can be very annoying and disruptive when you are alerted at a very wrong time when you are enjoying your sleep. So I'm now going to take you through autonomy. How can we make sure there's autonomy within these SRE agents? How can we manage the control? Because governance trust has to be earned. The agent we know is autonomous, right? It works 24 hours. But just like we need to, before humans can gain access into our system, you need to earn their trust, ensure that they are properly secured. So also, we should also do that to our SRE agent. That is why I've introduced this autonomy by tiers. It should be tiered and not as a compact process. Autonomy isn't absolute, it is earned. And the first one I'm going to talk about is the lower one, the level 0, where you can observe log. Yes, the agents, that is easier, it's a simple process. It is not too harmful to our system or to our environment. The agents can easily observe logs, queries, and make no changes. So that is easy. The next one is safe writes. The safe writes, here you restart pods, flush cache, and all that. This is also a bit, I would say, moderate risk because you can easily reverse this process. But what about schema changes, database changes, like I've noted in level 3? What about those processes that are difficult to move back? So how do we ensure that we give SRE agents controlled processes, controlled access, not having a full access to our system, or giving them that autonomy without proper governance? Autonomy is good, independent, it can manage your process, but governance without autonomy doesn't make sense. So now I'm going to introduce you to the governance which I have implemented here. Yes, agents are working, but governance needs to remain human. We have to have humans managing the process. First is observe actors. You need to have a proper way of observing and managing these agents. Who did what? What did this agent do? What data did they dive into? What assets do they have? You need to have ideas of all that. Govern the identity. The next one is, I'll call it enforce boundaries, permissions. Just as humans, before they gain access into our systems, we give them different permissions. Not everybody in the company has the same right and access. Or does everybody have the same right and access in your company? No. We need to enforce boundaries for SRE agents. The next I always say is audit the outcome, audit processes. When something happens, in terms of compliance, you are not going to say an AI agent acted on it. So now this is the time I'm calling on you guys to think of who owns the outcome, who owns the process, how do we ensure that there's accountability, validate safeguards. Yes, we've done the autonomy by tiers. I'm talking about governance, validate safeguards. And this is where I'll say we pioneered, as SREs, we pioneered chaos. Mind you, please, mind my accent. I had to learn how to pronounce chaos almost 10 times. I always say chaos. So we have to think about chaos. How we chaos, as SREs, you introduce chaos testing the systems. Now you also have to include that into SRE agents. How do we introduce that? Now, I call it break the agent before the agent breaks production. Throw in a poisonous knowledge base into your agents. Does it follow maliciously or it can easily detect it? Break glass simulations. How does it act during an emergency situation? Does it act the same way as normal during a normal situation? How do you manage drifts of these SRE agents? Because sometimes, if they are not properly managed with guardrails, they will drift away from your normal process. So how do you manage that drift? So I'm saying break the process, break it before the agent breaks production. I'm saying you should break it in a controlled environment. Test it to see how resilient it is. Now, this is where I say, again, ownership. When ownership blows, there's nothing like reliability. And the thing is, we keep on asking the question, will AI replace us? No, it won't. But as SREs, AI agents will replace stack. We keep ownerless. So your next coworker might be agentic or will be agentic. Who is going to own it? Will you own the stack as an SRE or will you leave it for agents to take over? So thank you very much. And I don't know if you have any questions.
Questions?
Thank you very much for that talk. That was very interesting. What are your thoughts? You posed that question at the end about the next co-worker being agentic. How do you see in the next 12 to 24 months the uptick of these agents within SRE? What's your thinking on that?
Okay, I'm seeing agents in the system becoming very autonomous, working independently without human identities. But at the same time, I'm going to give an example, like some organizations like Microsoft, for example, are assigning these agents on behalf of the user. So it's assigned to the individual. You can easily track that. But the situation also becomes very dicey when you leave the agent as its own superhuman identity. So we need to have a way to be able to track agents, track these SRE agents to see what processes they are doing, what activities they are doing. But in my own thoughts, I'm seeing people talking about being it fully autonomous. For some processes, I believe it should be tiered, one. Secondly, there should be a human in the loop. It should not be fully autonomous, depending on the process. So if it's a process, like I said, the issue of schema-based database changes and all, it should be assigned to on behalf of a user. So that user should be held accountable. There should be an SRE assigned to that agent. So he's working on behalf of the user. I don't know if I've been able to answer that question.
Yeah, no, you have indeed. So your governance then needs to have very strict guardrails to ensure that the AI agents either can't go beyond what the remit is they've been given, or discuss what
Yeah.
they're doing with other agents and give other accesses then?
Yes.